So I have around about 50 minutes, I think, to talk about new technologies. And there will be very different approaches, but because we will touch the very different technologies and also some business models. I will start with Filip with a few words about his company and his colleagues. Silmaril Storage. You'll talk about batteries and maybe with some answers to the question raised earlier about how can you put money on the technology, on batteries in a project? Is it worthy or not? Please.
Yeah. Hi everyone, Filip, Radu here. Just a bit of background. So I spent about 20 years in the UK and all of my career until I moved back to Romania about 2 years ago, being an energy lawyer, solicitor at CMS in the energy team. And you know, one of the funny things is that I was witness to the birth of this kind of the storage, the flexibility business. And about the nature of batteries and you know the fact that they're mostly merchant assets that are difficult to understand for investors and for the you know regulators and so on and so forth. You know, it's not been a straight line in the UK. I think they're on business model number 5 today, but yet you know they're still extremely profitable. People are still looking to invest. And this is one of the reasons I came back to Romania, exactly because I saw that there was a lot of renewables, a lot of intermittent capacity being built out. But something that people were neglecting was you know, how are we going to offtake all this power? How are we going to integrate all these renewables? And there was not enough attention being paid to that. So I decided to, with my co-founders, we started Silmaril Storage. We're a developer, owner, and long-term operator of flexibility assets, but we're starting with batteries for obvious reasons. And you know, the timing couldn't have been more perfect because when we started out, not a single person in Romania was talking about storage or flexibility or can the grid take all of this intermittent capacity. But within a few months of us starting out, it became the #1 topic because we saw extremely high record balancing prices, extremely high spot prices, sometimes negative prices, and these are all symptoms of a lack of storage, right? And what this translates from a financing perspective is in extremely attractive prices across the revenue stack, from you know you know some of the highest, if not the highest, spreads in the day-ahead market. Some of the highest, if not the highest, balancing prices, extremely attractive reservation availability and activation prices for system services. So when you look at these things, the payback period for batteries is actually extremely short. It's by far, to my knowledge, the shortest payback period for any infrastructure asset class. And that's, you know, you can count them on one hand the number of years or you know, maximum on one hand. So what I would tell people that are you know still reluctant or a bit skeptical about the investment case for batteries is that you know you will make, if you invest today, you will make back your money very quickly, and the rest is basically pure profit. The second thing I'm going to say is that you know the more the storage market develops, the more flexibility is required. The more the regulators, the government, the TSO, the DSOs will start to place a lot of value on flexibility and particularly on storage. And they will develop specialized system services like you have dynamic containment here and the Pathfinders, the National Grid did. So, you know, battery is not an easy asset class to invest in, but if you believe in renewables and if you believe that a lot of PV and wind will be built, then it's really hard to not believe in storage and in flexibility. And in fact, we are very excited about the flexibility perspective in the market in Romania, and we are investing heavily in this space.
Thank you. Great for the introduction. I will move to Jason because Filip earlier mentioned his experience in the UK, where several stages were already covered before. What is your experience here? What you can bring to Romania?
Sure, and thank you. And just a little bit about GivEnergy. So we are a battery manufacturer. We manufacture in China in our own facility, but we're also probably better known for our software. And that's one of the things that I've not really heard at all in the room so far. And I guess when you're with a lot of developers and investors, they're only interested in price. You know, we've heard it been said. From a country perspective, from government perspective, and we're doing a lot of negotiation with governments around the world, it's that long-term effect of storage on the grid, the interoperability, the cyber security. Because if we're talking about security of energy, one of the biggest things that we're working here with DESNZ, Department of Energy Security Net Zero, and governments around the world is, what is that long-term security? Because grid services, grid flexibility is a very, very powerful tool. But in the wrong hands, it's a weapon. And one of the things that we've really done to differentiate ourselves, and we've been talking in the Romanian market for the past 2 or 3 years, is who's controlling the asset post-implementation? And I'm still seeing a lot of subsidized assets being deployed to the grid. But it's not subsidies from European companies and countries. It's governments who want to deploy assets. And there's a really interesting document produced by the European Defence Association quite recently that talks about the threat from deployed assets on the grid. And I think that's done for the European Commission. And I think people have got to start to realise that the power of storage is also comes with responsibility. You know, it's a great quote, isn't it? With great power comes great responsibility. And that's something that we're really pushing. It's that interoperability, the security. So we've been deploying huge amounts of assets which operate with grid services. You know, we have over 1 gigawatt of deployed assets across thousands of facilities, behind the meter, in front of the meter. And I think that's one of the real powerful things, that when the grid is under duress, frequency response, demand side reduction, balancing, that's where energy storage really does come into its own. But I think it's one of the things that people still don't fully appreciate is how that's got to be deployed with that responsibility.
If I may, I'll stay a little bit here, because in my view, understanding this topic, this danger, might be visible in 2 ways. One would be the authorities to enforce some types of standards, regulation, I don't know. And the other way would be that market to put a price on this increased security. How's the situation in the UK? What you don't see yet in Romania, maybe?
No, I think we'll start seeing increasing legislation. The UK government is talking 2027, so that's one of the things that we're talking about now. But that's in so many ways too late. And I think this is one of the things for investors. It's that how do you assess what is the right solution to invest in? Because you know, if you're putting something in that creates harm to the grid, are you actually morally and where do you stand for investing in something that could be used against the grid in time? So it's a really fascinating side of things. The European Union is starting to get to grips with it. The Australian government is starting to get to grips with it. But everyone's kind of like, what do we do? Because we've got to move away from dependency on fossil fuels, Russian gas or whatever it is. But we can't just run into another problem in the future. And that's why GivEnergy was created the way it was. That it is very ethical in what it does. It's very much about control of the assets and deploying those assets in the right way. And because we're completely privately owned, all our international global software is done here in the UK, it's one of those real things that we've set ourselves up to be a differentiator. We know how much it costs to manufacture storage products, and it's not about the cells and the battery, it's the BMS, the PCS, what controls the asset that we're talking about here, and that's where people have really got to get their head around very, very quickly, because like I say, we need to invest for the future, not invest to create a problem in 5 years down the line.
Thank you. The juicier part would be, how do you prove that your products are more secure, but we are not there yet. I will move to Marian from Romania, but also working in various parts of Europe and with large experience during the past decades. Now more interested in batteries like everybody else. Where we are in Romania, what do you think that would be the use we should make of this technology at the moment?
Yeah, thank you very much for having us here. I mean, now in Romania, I think there are a lot of projects being developed. As the other panels we were talking about, there are like gigawatts or tens of gigawatts of potential projects to enter on the grid. Going to who and how to manage those projects, to be a player on the market. For sure, we need to think about security. And one option which some countries are applying is that the TSO will basically operate the batteries, or to create a framework in order to have somehow this to be met, which will come with a price. But considering that today the highest financial yields we have from this, I think it will not be a problem to be able to cover the cost, the extra cost coming from these elements which you need to fulfill in order to have a good security of operating the plants.
Okay, if you use this opportunity to say a few words about Wiren, about your plans in terms of batteries and any other new technologies in producing, managing electricity, and maybe in operating and building power plants.
I mean, our plan now for Romania, because now we are discussing about what's supposed to happen in the near future in Romania. Our plan is in the next 2 years to build around 1 gigawatt of storage. And for sure, for each and every project we will be involved, we are trying to optimize. I mean, first is the technology, which for sure the manufacturers are working, and you can see that in terms of performance, in terms of even pricing, because they reach a maturity of production. But we are looking for all the angles of the project, how to optimize from the engineering perspective, how to use it better, and we have some element of how to make it, let's say, more eco-friendly, or how to be able in the future to be able to offset somehow the impact you had. For example, in one of our cases, we are considering to not use concrete foundation, but to go with some 100% recyclable piles, screws, basically to install those in order the impact on the environment to be lower in the long-term exploitation of the project. And if the battery makes sense, it really does everywhere, and we are seeing this in Romania because a lot of new renewable projects are coming in the market, and I think the last year was the most volatile so far, and more renewable will come, worse it will be. But the battery actors, the battery players, are not somebody to come and benefit or having, cashing in a lot of money to have a high return. This will be at the very beginning. More storage will be in the grid, which will need to be aligned with the renewable being in the grid. The grid will stabilize itself with this support. So in fact, the investors in storage are coming in to help the grid.
Thank you. Thank you. We are moving now to another solution for storing energy. In part, this is what ammonia is. Dan Cojocaru, a Romanian working and living in the UK, working for a company based here, and tell us a few words about this very different area of activity, but also in storage. This is for me interesting, I think. But
thank you very much for the invitation, for having me here. My name is Dan Cojocaru. My background is a bit different. I'm a process engineer, so we work in the fertilizer industry. Our company is providing owner engineers solutions for the companies looking to build new ammonia in the urea plant. In the last 5 years, we've received more and more inquiries from energy companies like BP, JERA in Japan, BP in Australia, Woodside in the US. So we noticed increased trend where the blue ammonia, which I'll give you a bit of definition. The blue ammonia is the conventional ammonia from natural gas, where the CO2 is captured and stored in the underground deposits. Blue ammonia is foreseen to be like the new fuel for the maritime industry. The current production globally for ammonia is about 184 million tons. If the blue ammonia will become the energy carrier for the shipping industry, the production will increase 3 times. additional blue ammonia is foreseen to be used in the power plants, as particularly Japan and South Korea is investigating this route, and also as a hydrogen carrier for the European market. So most of the blue ammonia projects are currently located in the Gulf of Mexico. That because a lot of the underground reservoir are depleted due to the extraction starting in 1938, I think, in the Gulf of Mexico, and they can inject this CO2 back into the reservoir. So here we are looking for joint venture between companies like ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, with JERA, Uniper from Germany. So the first project coming online is in stream is this summer. Woodside from Australia, they invested 2.35 billion US dollars for 1.1 million tons of blue ammonia. However, we do believe that Romania has a great potential to develop blue ammonia projects in the future. There was a study done called Jetica, and that mapped the underground reservoir. Maybe you know that Romania is extracting oil since 18th century, mid-18th century. So a lot of reservoirs are depleted and readily available for the injection of the CO2. And our view and idea is that a restart of the fertilizer production in Romania using the gas from the Neptune Deep project, together with the combined blue ammonia project that will be readily available for European market, where big players like Uniper are looking to import from the US, could be a strategic move, and Romania could be well positioned to hit, let's say, two birds with one stone, restarting the fertilizer production and also producing blue ammonia in Romania. So that being said, there are several fertilizer plants currently under preservation, up for sale. One of them is in the southern part of Romania, Donauchem, currently under direct negotiations with a potential buyer. We are in contact with the buyer that is looking to invest to restart the fertilizer production and also to produce blue ammonia, as well as green ammonia in the future using the electricity from the solar panel. So that's shortly speaking.
Thank you for the very short introduction. Tell us a few words about your company. What makes it different from other companies operating in the same field?
Yeah, so what we do, we provide technical consultancy and design review for the fertilizer project and as well as blue ammonia technology. We work with technology licensors, so there are large technology licensors from Europe, I will not name it here, using our expertise to do their design review to provide operational readiness so we can improve their design in terms of making them readily available for the market. We are also provide commissioning and startup services. We have projects in North Africa, we have projects in the Middle East, and we are looking now to develop other projects in Morocco. And we also developed the only training platform for the fertilizer industry called Fertilizer Academy, where we are looking to roll it globally to teach new operators coming into this industry for fertilizer, ammonia, urea, and also blue ammonia to learn how to operate the plant. So we are looking to harvest this knowledge. And
Thank you. Very interesting. In a couple of minutes, you offer some answer for Mr. Spataru, who's looking for green industry for the near future in Romania, and also for people looking for off-takers for new electricity that will be on the market on huge volumes very soon, and also this possibility of using ammonia as a storage in some form or another. We will come back. Nicolas, we come to you now because you are a trader and an aggregator of everything that everybody here in the room is producing and trading, so in the moving through the grids. Tell us a few more words about the new business models that these technologies and the current situation allow for.
I think first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. The message, I think, the future is electric. And for those of you who worry about the low price of energy, I have to tell you, don't. What we need more energy, we need flexibility, and we need digitalization. Everything that has been said today actually converges to what we do. Because what we do, actually, we manage your energy. I think we are living in a new world for renewables. And this new world for renewables is very different in the sense that things got a lot more complex than it used to be. Especially when I'm comparing to Romania with the first wave of renewables. We didn't have the issue about the pricing. We had many issues, but not this one. We didn't have the issue about imbalance. I don't think many people was worrying about imbalance cost back then. Well, in 2025, I think all this became a reality. And what we are confronted with, especially with the emergence of the batteries, I think it's about automation, and I think it's about aggregation. Of course, we trade in minutes. We obviously we look long term, but we are more concerned with what is going on now than what will going to happen in a few years. For investors, of course, you need to plan for 15, 25 years. But what I think put us trouble today, it's actually what is going to happen tomorrow. I hear a lot about batteries, and if I would have made money from the business plans and the consultancy given to investors, I would have been rich already. And you know, it's, to me, sounds a little bit strange that you want to predict something that is by nature flexible. And I'm telling everybody, come to my office, I will show you how we code and we take decision every 3 minutes. How would you want me to put this in a financial model? It's impossible. So you either take the risk or don't bother.
I guess that are different businesses for different kind of people.
Of course,
somebody is more risk averse than another.
I'm talking now as a trader. I used to be a trader in my early career, then I switched to private equity, and I was stressing everybody with, I want to see financial models. I want to see predictability. But since I'm back in energy trading, I kind of sound a little bit strange to my old friends.
Nicolas, try to give us a flavor on how the new technology that we call battery systems changes the way that trading is made at the moment, and maybe we'll change it tomorrow.
First of all, I think, of course, we are trading in Romania, and every market is special. The trader, it's actually more integrated nowadays with the, I call it dispatch, yeah? But the dispatch is, in essence, an automation. So, for instance, what we have, and actually is due to our sister company, Ivy Grid, we operate as a VPP. So everybody's talking about VPPs, we are VPP ready already. We cannot operate the battery without it. So what we see a lot of discussions about batteries and how they will be operated. Of course, there is an issue if you don't have an EMS. And
but you don't have a battery system if you don't have an EMS.
Exactly, that's why things become more complex. But what I can say, the technology is there. I think also Elena from Electra mentioned it. We can operate it tomorrow. What I think changed is the fact that although they are operated together, we make money separated. Because what we do, for instance, and by the way, there is a distinction between a trader and an asset manager in the sense that we do not take open positions in the market. We trade the quantities that we have in our portfolio, and we trade within the error margin of our prognosis. So yes, we use an AI software to forecast the production. But what we are better at, actually we are estimating the system. So how the system will be.
What kind of data do you input in this model?
This is basically the source of what we are doing. And I would love to tell you more. It's not necessarily a secret, but it's a very
if you say another word, I will understand everything and I will change your business.
But I think that the difference is we are trading in balances. We are not trying to reduce them. And by doing this, actually we are helping the system.
Okay.
I will give you a very small example, because I think Radu made my speech a lot easier. Yesterday I was asked about what is the IRR for a battery or if it's worth investing. And I opened my phone and I said, look, you just lost for almost 1,000 euro in 15 minutes. If you are talking too long about this, the train will be gone and the batteries will be in a normalized asset class because, by the way, infrastructure, it's a low risk asset class that returns historically between 9 to 12%. Today, batteries can return about 50.
And this will be
But
valid
again,
only for
this will not
2
stay.
years or 3 years. Okay, you know the gentlemen now, you know their companies and their organization. Please, if you have questions, the microphone will be there immediately. I will bring it to you. And then some of my colleagues will take over this. Please.
Thank you. Charles Purkis from ITM Power. We are a global leader in PEM electrolysis manufacturer based in Sheffield in the UK, and we're looking at markets, especially Romania. So thank you, I've enjoyed the session today. The focus has been very much on batteries, short-term energy storage. So batteries have to discharge before they recharge, which is all very well when it's a short duration period of time, hours, but you're talking about offshore wind, you're talking about large-scale generation of renewable electrons. And what I'm urging is a balanced approach, looking at a whole range of technologies. And electrolyzers, PEM electrolysis equipment that we make now, is able to react very, very fast, ramp up and down to take renewable energy, to convert into a gas that can then be utilized to decarbonize industry. You can pipe it. So if you've got an interconnector, you can plant up a large-scale electrolyzer and help that utilization of the energy, so you don't curtail it. One of the biggest problems we've got in the UK, and why electricity prices are so high here, is because we curtail the energy, because we haven't planned ahead. And all we're focusing on now is little short-term batteries. You've got to look at the big picture, long-term energy storage. So I'd welcome your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you also for your input. But we already touched the two different solutions. Short solution, at least for the moment, the batteries, and longer solution, that would be ammonia or the others. Please.
And no, it's a really interesting point because I've been talking about this. Energy storage isn't just electrical energy storage, it's thermal, it's green hydrogen, it's got to be a balance of all different technologies. And we've talked about gas, and you know, I'm an environmentalist. I'm still pro mining coal in this country because it's ridiculous. We bring biomass in from America, you know, and say it's green fuel. It's preposterous. So there's got to be a mix of solutions that's in there. And you know, we've talked about energy storage, but I'm always thinking about the full range. And Romania's, you know, got a fantastic position because of hydro. And it already has a very, very good long-term energy storage proposition. But yeah, I'm a massive advocate of other solutions like green hydrogen that can power very energy-intensive kilns and things like that. And it's been great, you know, actually hearing about other technologies like ammonia, which is, you know, it's great. And I think the more technology we can introduce to store energy, the better.
Thank you.
I can answer actually because we are managing one of our customers' electrolyzers, and we are using their cogeneration in the balancing market when they are available, so to say. And I fully resonate with what you just mentioned. Definitely, the transition has to be managed carefully, and we cannot be green overnight. I think gas it's a great transition, and I think Romania has a great potential for gas. Again, we are managing cogeneration power plants, and probably we will see in the future an increase in. I mean, there are projects already ready to become operational. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other comment on the? If if anybody want to jump in.
I'm happy to give a brief response. Brevity is not my greatest virtue, but I'll try. I mean, just look at our website. We define ourselves as a flexibility provider. Just so happens that the business case for batteries is the clearest right now. But our website also says that we're interested in other opportunities such as hydrogen. The thing about us being able to go to our investors and develop projects and build those out in other technologies is, I guess, threefold. The first one is obviously cost, and this is a challenge that I give back to you to bring that cost sufficiently down, so we can go to our investor and go like, look, it's not that much of a risk. Let's give it a chance. The second one is there has to be demand. There has to be demand for these longer duration or other storage technologies. And obviously that will depend as the market evolves. You see it in the States already, 4 hours, 8 hours. It's happening in more developed markets, and that will just take time. I'm sure it will just come from on its own. And the third one is, specifically talking about hydrogen. The industry, the regulators, the European Union, because obviously we're in Romania, we're talking about Romania. They need to get their act straight about where do they want to incentivize, because you need to give it a bit of a push, right? These technologies are not just going to, come on their own. So first it was about, using hydrogen, for energy, but then that didn't work. And then it was about transport, and then it was about, airplanes. So it's a bit unclear where the demand is going to come from. And the moment, and that's going to require support schemes and state support. So the moment you have all of these pieces to the puzzle together, I'm sure it's just going to take off like nothing else. But we're open-minded and we're constantly on the lookout for new technologies, and we're definitely trying to optimize our projects such that we leave room for new technologies, room for longer duration batteries in our case. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other question or comment for the gentleman here? We have one, and then we'll come back here to Mr. Spataro, please.
Hi, it's Jason Hunter from GivEnergy. Filip, couldn't agree with you more. My question is around the revenue stack, and does it work in the same way in terms of return on investment behind the meter? Romania's got 3,000 large corporations, nearly 1.4 million small to medium-sized enterprises. If we put a 10 megawatt system behind the meter in your top 100 companies, just for shifting time of day of purchase, does that revenue stack add to those energy bill savings? Also, over here, we're reducing CO2 as well, because we know that electricity in the grid in the daytime is very, very carbon intense in terms of grams per kilowatt hour. If we're shifting them out, buying renewables at nighttime, allowing them to reduce those scope 2 CO2 emissions, as well as reducing energy costs, how does the revenue stack build up in Romania compared to the UK?
So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent question. God, this is the age-old question. Is storage behind the meter worth the investment, the capex? I guess in our analysis and in our in our thinking, you really, as a demand side, as a consumer, as somebody is behind, because you gave the example of a kind of a demand having behind the meter storage. But I guess the point goes also for PV having co-located batteries. It's all about will you be using the battery at those points in time when the returns that you'd be making, the opportunity cost is too great to justify the extra capex. And obviously this will, for consumers, it will depend a lot on the absolute cost of energy that they are buying from the grid, right? And whether, and that's a very financial specific calculation that people need to make. But in our analysis, frankly, we've not really looked at it so much from a demand side, but more from a co-locating to a PV or a wind generator. It doesn't really make that much sense financially at the moment, because the sweetest 15-minute periods, you're probably generating and using that connection point for your main investment, which was hundreds of millions. You're not going to be sacrificing that for like a little battery, using that connection point, and obviously you have PPAs and you have delivery obligations, et cetera, et cetera. it's really difficult at the moment. It would require, especially for demand, it would require to kind of invest in teams that understand how these things work and to actually have that courage to make that first step. But I'm sure the first time, if you get one person that does it, and then rumor spreads that they're making a killing, I'm sure you'll find everybody will be trying to do the same. So you just need that one person to do it and to show that there's a business case, and then it will just come by itself.
Thank you, Filip. I will go to Marian and then I'll give you the floor immediately. Tell us a little bit about your preferred business case for batteries. Is it collocated? Is it for big shavings? Or?
So batteries are, it's good to use the batteries where they are needed. So first, in order to have this model, what the gentleman just said, you need to have the trader on the table, you need to have the producer, you need to have somehow the energy supplier and the investor, right? The investor will make the investments because it's an infrastructure which we can take some less or lower yields. And just you need to have on board the consumer. And basically it's very simple because there, if you have, how do you call this? You have a standard flat price you pay for the energy, secured price, and in time, once the investment will be paid off, that price will be even optimized. So it's possible to make that happen. But you have more such cases. For example, and it's just one it's one example. We have this energy like shifting from cars to electrical vehicles. You can use the car and connect that infrastructure or a network of connection of charging points to balance basically the grid, and you can balance them through batteries or through cars. So you can use storage in more places like consumption, even households or business, or electrical vehicle charging points, or behind the meter, or for a standalone to serve the grid. But all of them are willing and are there to help a suffering, let's say, grid.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Nicolas, I saw that don't touch one of the points that you wanted to make.
It's good we had dinner together last night, so we made my life easier. We had discussion on behind the meter storage. And I will not comment more because I think we said enough. I only want to give an example, and this is a study case. I think 2019 or 2020, I think E.ON in Germany tried a pilot installing behind the meter storage in German citizens' garages to balance their supply business. I didn't follow and I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that that business is not there and is not scaled. On the other hand, I think in the UK you have a wonderful well, I don't think it's startup anymore. I think it's called Octopus. And I met Adam a few years ago, and he was a very, I don't know, a very down-to-earth person, and when he was telling us what he wants to do, we were like, I was in private equity back then. I was like, yeah, okay, let's find some serious IPP to invest in, and let's forget about these dreamers, demand-side response and supply households. No. And look where Octopus is today.
Okay, the future is not visible necessarily. Mr. Spătaru, the microphone will be here already. Sorry, immediately.
Thank you. So first, just wanted to thank Energynomics for a great event. I think as opposed to other events, we had a lot of content coming through, which is very high quality. So, there was real depth beneath the surface, so thank you for that. So my name is George Negrescu. I'm from a company called Valdevar. We are, just like a few of our colleagues, a builder of energy assets in Romania. And my question to you is, I'm going to try to make it pretty simple, but in the value chain, financially wise, you're monetizing these energy assets. You're looking at a range in between the 51 euros, which is the CFD sort of price point, all the way up to the price that a provider will get from a premium customer, which could be all the way up to, let's say, 250 euros. And currently we have some sort of market mechanisms to put a floor on that, to put a cap, sorry, not a floor, a cap. But those will go away soon. So, the market expects, that upper limit to inflate even further. But, how would someone that is investing today in renewable assets be able to capture most of that, kind of value chain and money on the table, kind of revenue-wise? That would be my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I will answer. First of all, when the CFD scheme saw the light, I had a reaction. The world with the CFD scheme is definitely better than without. And then I deleted. But you would expect from a trader not to like CFDs. What I think is not how to maximize, because I think it's a question of, can I make this project or not? Because at the end of the day, I would love to have many gigawatts under my management, but they still need to be COD'd. So what I think is more important is how to balance the fixed return at the end of the day with the flexible and with exposure to the market. I think when I saw the results, I called few CFD winners because I have tens, if not hundreds, of financial models on renewables, and I was like, there's no way you can make it. I mean, if you get 50 or 50 something, I don't know how you model it, but me as an investor, I wouldn't do it. And the answer is clear. Yeah, but it's just the first step, and I think he's right. So at the end of the day, definitely the market needed CFD. And I think this fixed price is very good also for producer. I mean, like CNIs, yeah, because it gives a confidence in PPA negotiation. Because I love how a good day looks for me. It looks when the price is very high and the volatility is very high. But this is not good for the long term, and this is not sustainable. So definitely, I think.
Thank you, Nicolas. Anybody with a guess on this topic? Yeah. Okay, please.
Sadly, I'm conflicted on the CFDs.
Okay, Jason took the first microphone. Please, Jason.
Okay. I think the great thing about energy storage in any forms, it allows that complete flexibility of generation and consumption. We're seeing a huge shift in the historic generation matching consumption. We're now trying to get to more smart energy systems of consumption matching generation, and that's going to require a whole host of interoperability standards and everything. But we're seeing the shift each year between how storage can be utilized. So what was being utilized several years ago was maximizing self-consumption. We're seeing it now hedging the markets in terms of and playing the markets, but also the frequency and the grid services. And that will evolve constantly. So this becomes part of the challenge between modeling something that's ever evolving. You're seeing it in Australia now, where the solar tax is coming in New South Wales, being penalised for discharging onto the grid in a market that's been very intensive in solar, but very slow in storage. So you're now getting so much energy being produced at certain times of the day, and we've got it here in the UK on curtailment on wind turbines. So there's a whole range in which storage is going to be deployed and maximised to really balance the grid and what we've talked about. The difficulty is, as has been talked about, how do you model that? Because it's ever evolving, but it's essential. And I think everybody here probably recognises it's essential. We just don't quite know how for each year for the next 5 years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have or can have a lot of ways of let's say securing the prices. You have the CFDs. You have maybe in the near future the energy communities. You have the PPAs, the private PPAs, end user PPA, and so on. I don't know if the CFDs are like good for the storage business, because in practice, whatever producer will have a CFD, he will not care about imbalances, and he will just produce and be paid. And then Nicolas will step in and act on the suffering market and make some money out of it. And then the batteries will make sense. Not, yeah.
We can help CFD producers also.
Thank you. I will give the floor now. Oh, please.
Well, just very quickly, just speaking from a storage perspective here, CFDs for storage very welcome. Any sort of contracted revenues, and I would highly encourage the Romanian state to look at the capacity market. The Poles have done it, and it's very successful, and it's been a big boost to their storage business. And on modeling, how are batteries going to make money in the future? Because they're very juicy right now. Investors can get that, but how do they get the certainty? For 10 or 15 year lifetime. I mean, I think we all agree it's very difficult to model. Every model that you'd have taken in the UK in 2016 or whenever the genesis of batteries would be wrong today for whatever they predicted today. But again, this is the point I'm trying to make. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, and you don't need to believe in the tooth fairy to invest in batteries. As long as there are huge amounts of intermittent capacity, and by the way, European-wide balancing platforms, Picasso, and so on and so forth, there will be value placed on flexibility and on storage. And there's no reason why Romania is different to the UK or any other more advanced market and the business case for storage. You just need them. You don't need to believe in them. You just need to look around. They'll be here for the long term, and they'll be making money in the long term. You can't say today how that will be happening in 10 years, but it's just a fact of life that we need them, and because we need them, they will need to be remunerated.
Thank you, Filip. Please, Mr. Spătariu, you had a comment earlier a few minutes ago already.
Since I'm here, I think I have to answer to comment on some topics, just to have a proper view on that. Look, it's a very interesting topic what you are talking about, batteries and how you are going to store and all these things. I can confirm you that the government is looking to different type of storing. Yeah, not only batteries, but also hydrogen, also blue ammonia, all these things. Just to come back a little bit on the hydrogen, because I saw that there were some discussions about that. Yeah, when I was the minister, I think it was one of the first questions. Are you going? Do you have a strategy on hydrogen in Romania? And it was my fellow minister of energy at that moment who said, I have a strategy for production. And I was saying, I don't have a strategy for consumption, by the way. So I don't know where am I going to do that. From that moment, we are sitting together because we are, let's say, somehow in the same meeting but in different days. We are sitting together and we made a strategy for hydrogen, both for production and consumption. Unfortunately, nowadays, the government has not been promoted to be adopted, but I think this is going to happen pretty soon, because it has been worked out both with different consumers. We are thinking about where are we going to use and how much we are going to produce. And this is going to happen. I do believe that it will be somewhere in 2025, maybe in the second half of 2025. Coming back to the blue ammonia, maybe you know very well that Romania is having the obligation, being a large producer in the oil and gas, to store by 2030 9 million cubic meters of CO2. We have identified first of all, we changed the legislation because the legislation has been adopted in 2013. By coincidence, I'm leading the group for the CCUS, for the carbon storage and utilization. We changed the legislation in order to make sure that we know how we are going to do that and what's the role of the authorities. Especially on the transport, it was a big problem. And now we have the legislation ready. There are companies who applied for the innovation fund, for the European Innovation Fund. Unfortunately, no project has been funded by Europe, by European Commission. That was one of the claims we have to the European Commission, that it cannot be that Romania, being the third country in the European Union having this burden of storing this CO2, that there is no project there. We made an assessment, and we have forwarded to the Commission where are the potential storage capacity, not offshore but onshore, because Romania doesn't have an onshore capacity to do that, and we are going to make an assessment, a geological assessment, if it is possible. Then the blue ammonia, this project of blue ammonia can be entered into this picture, with the proposal that you have to look into this European Innovation Fund for that. Since you are all debating about CFD, just to be clear from the government point of view, CFD was necessary. It was requested. On the number of the project, which I think there were something like, with all this authorization, something like 15 gigawatt hour. We were just issuing a CFD of 1.5. So really that was done. And from my financial information, just for the ones who are questioning whether this is possible or not, yes, it is possible, because we know what are the estimated costs for that. So that was good. And if I'm not mistaken, the Minister of Energy, there is this plan to go up with the CFD up to 5 gigawatt hour. So that is also, let's say, but they will do it in a different way, having the expertise of what was happening, and they will do the tender for the.
Thank you. This will be something very interesting for the near weeks and months to follow in Romania. I think we have time only for one question and one feeling. I have one question and one feeling, but I will give up my question for you, gentlemen. So the microphone will be there and will be the final question today.
A lot of pressure, not sure if I can withstand that. Hi, Jan from Green Energy. A great panel, thank you all very much. A quick question from me is, there seems to be a very vibrant ecosystem of energy battery storage optimizers in the UK, less so in the continental markets, and even less so probably in Romania. And I think the reasons for that are that there'll be multiple. It's a nascent market. To go back to what Filip was saying, the astronomical profits that you can make from batteries today probably make it less significant to optimize. But at some point, that's probably going to change. So my question is, how do you see the market for energy optimizers developing in Romania? Is it already starting? And if not, when is it going to happen? And what's the significance for developers and investors active in the best market today?
Thank you.
Spot on. It's not as liquid a market for optimizers in Romania at the moment, but the key issue being a chicken and egg one. There just wasn't anything to optimize until very recently. That said, yes, one of the things that we pride ourselves in is that we understand that the best assets are not just plug and forget. The real, the real juicy bit comes from operating them intelligently. And at the moment, you can indeed make, substantial profits by, I guess there's a good word for it is just dumb trading. Very simple trades. But as more batteries come online, people that operate best and probably weren't as focused or as prescient as we may be, because I have this knowledge from my previous life here in the UK, will see that their returns are drastically falling from day to day, month to month, and they will be forced to go and seek optimization arrangements with traders, and you know, that will create demand for this stuff. That said, in our discussions, we're speaking to a number of, let's say, you know, emerging optimizers in Romania, you know, homegrown, but also we see a lot of interest from Western European traders that are paying very close attention to the Romania best market and are trying to find opportunities to enter the market and to strike early deals with developers and investors to operate those assets. And I really do hope from the discussions that I've had to date that will mean that the fees, the revenue share that we're currently being quoted in Romania will come, you know, at least close to the ones that we're seeing in the UK, because it's a world different. It's a world of a difference. It's just remarkable when I tell in these discussions with optimizers in Romania or ones that are trying to come into Romania, when I tell them, like, guys, you know, you're giving me this really large number. This is the number in the UK. Like, how do you justify the difference? I haven't had a good answer to that yet, and I'm hoping that the competitive pressure will mean that we get to a more reasonable number for that revenue share.
Thank you, Filip.
If we still have a little bit of time.
1 minute and 25 seconds.
25
Please.
seconds. What we follow as a model is actually the Australian model. And what I think will be important in Romania is actually what will happen with the interconnectors. I think that these two, if you factor in these two information, I think you can estimate when, let's say, the price will normalize. But at the end of the day, what is normality, you know? Yeah.
Hey, thank you. I think this... Okay. I will not move anymore.
Unmuted. Do you want to use one of them?
Okay, I will use that. Because it's the final part of the day. If no add-on from any of you. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And I will close with the feeling that I said I'd like to share with you and close the formal part of today. As an answer to the gentleman that allows the last question, the main part of us being here today was based on this idea that the UK market is much more developed, the competition is larger, the number of the companies is much larger in Romania, and we need them inside our country. And we wanted to showcase that you have people to talk with, people that understand what it's at stake, what the technology means, what the use of it, and so on. And I think that is one point that we managed to reach very well. At the same time, I had the feeling that besides being just individuals and companies knowing more or less of the businesses, we are starting to build up something like a tissue. There are relations between companies, between individuals. There are also the institutions working and putting together ideas, project policies with the needs of the companies. And it is very warm to see this. I felt in this last session that there was no significant difference from based on the country of origin. All the conversation was on energy topics, on business issues, indifferent the country of origin, which is very, very interesting and very nice to notice. Thank you very much. Thank you, the representative of the embassies, for the support, and also for Mr. President Nicolas for being here and sharing with us some thoughts. The example of Mr. Spătaru is great. Being here for so many hours and actively involving in the conversation is very useful and merits of all the applause. Thank you very much. The lunch is ready for some time, I think, but we'll have some time to chat a little bit more. Thank you and see you very soon, hopefully.